What did you see in the early years that really showed you that the elder is kind of left behind?
Wonder why you're really resistant.
It's not a privilege. It's a right for people to be able to get to where they need to go.
Welcome to the Empowered Elder Podcast.
Welcome back to the Empowered Elder Podcast, where we have honest conversations that elevate the well-being, dignity, and independence of older adults. I'm your host, Tasha Beckman, here with my co-host, Nicole Robilotto. And today, we're talking about something that affects nearly every elder at some point in their aging journey: safe, reliable, and compassionate transportation.
According to the CDC, in 2022, about 5.7% of U.S. adults reported lacking reliable transportation for daily living in their previous year. And for adults aged 65 and older, that figure is still nearly 4.5%.
Those numbers may sound small, but the impact is enormous because for older adults, transportation is more than a ride. It's access to medical care. It's connection with family. It's the ability to stay active, engaged, and independent.
That's why we are so grateful to welcome Cory Luebben, the operations manager at Key Transit, a leader in wheelchair accessible and specialized transportation, serving more than 80 nursing homes across the Denver metro area.
With over 11 years of experience supporting mobility-challenged individuals, Cory has dedicated his career to filling one of the largest and most overlooked gaps in elder care. He and his team are committed to delivering true door-to-door service with safety, professionalism, and compassion at the center of everything they do.
Today, we'll talk about what accessible transportation really requires, how safety training and operational oversight protect vulnerable riders, and the powerful human moments that happen when mobility barriers are removed.
Let's dive in.
If we could start a little bit about your journey and how you ended up in this space. Tell us a little bit about your background, if you would start.
Certainly, yes. I have a background in sales and management. I sold technological products, computers, cameras, because I liked educating people. But I came to a point in my life to where I just felt like I was selling products to people they didn't need. I wanted to do something a little bit more meaningful in my life. I went back to school, became an EMT, took a 50% pay cut to work 24-hour shifts on an ambulance.
Wow.
Yeah. I did that until my body would no longer let me. Mm-hmm. I attempted to lift somebody a little heavier than I probably should have.
Okay.
So that led me into still remaining with the company, but 911 dispatch. So I would be the person that would answer the call. 911, what's the address of your emergency? After doing that for a number of years and with my background in sales, I went to work for an ambulance company as their marketing director. So what I found, though, was as a marketing director for an ambulance company, they wanted me to solicit them as a one-stop shop for all. Call us for emergencies, call us for stretcher, call us for wheelchair. They had 9 ambulances in one wheelchair van. The need was 90% wheelchair to 10% stretcher. So I didn't feel right about promoting services I couldn't provide. So I found a company, Key Transit, that was providing good service to the community, and I gave them all of our business. And it wasn't long after that I asked the owner of the company, is there a home for me with you? He said, well, what can you do? I can dispatch, I can drive, I can train. What I can't do is punch a clock. Mm-hmm. As a single father of a 1 and 3-year-old. Mm-hmm. So if you want results, give me a shot. If you want someone to punch a clock, I'm probably not your guy. That was 11 years ago. And I've helped grow the company from 1 vehicle, 1 nursing home, to 16 vehicles and 80 different nursing homes that we serve.
Wow.
You definitely found there was a need, huh? And filled that, yeah.
Yes.
What did you see in the early years that really showed you that the elder is kind of left behind in terms of the transportation needs in our community?
Well, with the silver tsunami and over 11,000 people turning 65 in the U.S. every single day, there's a definite need that needs to be fulfilled, and not many people that are willing to provide it. So I just realized that there was an area that I could be helpful. People that are having mobility issues, that are confined to a wheelchair, are entitled to the same transportation as everyone else, whether that's to get to their doctor's office, to go to the pharmacy, or to go have dinner with their loved ones. So to be able to provide that service to them is very rewarding for me.
And what are the overarching mobility challenges that you have seen in your career?
Really just a lack of resources, and then the quality of service that's often provided is really not up to what I would consider to be what's deserving.
So there's options out there, but maybe not all the options are at the level that you provide. Would you agree with that statement? And if so, what would you say are maybe some of the other companies out there that just maybe aren't at the level, or maybe a consumer or listeners would need to look out for?
Well, there is a service called Curb to Curb, and there's a door-to-door, and then there's a door-through-door service, and that's what Key Transit provides.
What was the last door-through-door?
Door-through-door.
Okay.
Can you talk through just the specifics?
A curb-to-curb service, which is often, where people are loaded on a bus, taken to their dialysis appointment, and then given a 6-minute window to be at the curb to be picked up, or the bus moves on. There aren't really contingency plans in place. We have contingency plans to our contingency plans to make sure that we pick everybody up as promised. So on a curb-to-curb or door-to-door service, someone might get dropped off for an appointment, and then they go in and they find out that appointment's been rescheduled. Now what do?
Right.
They're stuck. So we make sure we check in each and every guest, as we like to refer to our passengers, at their destination. We make sure that they're checked in at their appointment, that they actually have an appointment, how long that appointment might last, and when they need to be picked back up.
Wow, that is quite the service. I mean, I'm just envisioning somebody standing there, they go inside and the appointment's been canceled, and then they have to wait even longer to get picked back up. I mean, it could be a disruption, especially if the patient is not well or the client is not well, and they need that little extra care that sounds like that you provide, which is pretty special.
Absolutely. And there are a lot of moving parts to this line of work. It's not so much just having a van that's wheelchair accessible and putting drivers on the street to make it happen, because unforeseens are inevitable. Each and every day, somebody's going to either be ready early, their appointment will run over, and it can create a snowball effect for our drivers. We have 14 drivers out there on any given day throughout the week, but when their itinerary is full and they have somewhere to be at 1 o'clock, and that 12 o'clock appointment's running behind schedule, there's a snowball effect that can occur that creates a disservice to everyone. So our contingency plan to that is to cross-train our dispatchers to drive. So if ever somebody's falling behind or has a last-minute request that we couldn't otherwise accommodate, we send someone out from the office to go.
And you 24/7?
7 days a week,
Okay.
7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay.
With that being said, we have drivers that will come in at 4 a.m.
Okay.
before the office is even open to take people to dialysis for those obscure chair times.
That is a lot of coordinating and a lot of juggling, right?
It can be.
Especially for those unforeseen situations that might arise.
Right. It's also listening to the needs of your customer and making accommodations.
It is.
Other companies, I would imagine, don't have those same kind of thoughts in mind of listening to the customer and, changing your business practices and allowing for the 4 a.m. or, 5 a.m. kind of appointment slots. They're pretty strict on, nope, we're 7 to 7, right?
Yes. And we pre-screen all of our callers. When someone's requesting a transport, safety is paramount. It's a priority above and beyond anything else that we do. So we ask questions. Is the patient able to sit safely upright in a wheelchair, for example? And we may be told, yes. Our drivers are the eyes and ears out there. If someone cannot maintain themselves to sit upright in a wheelchair, they cannot be safely secured in a moving vehicle in that chair. And they may be warranted to go by stretcher. And that's when our drivers will get dispatch involved, and if need be, case manager, social worker, whoever that might be, to ensure that that person is transported successfully and safely to their destination.
And is it usually one person per transport, or do you sometimes schedule where there could be multiple individuals in the transport, or is it just one-to-one?
I'm glad you asked that question. It is one-to-one.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that I like to boast about, because we deal with people that are often socially isolated. And as I said before, we refer to our passengers as guests. So the people that I employ to provide the service get to have that one-on-one interaction with our guest. And as trivial as it might seem, getting out and about and getting to talk to someone and have that one-on-one interaction can often make someone's day.
When you said that, it made me think, do you often, if it's an individual who has the same appointment, once a week, do you try to match them up so they're with the same driver, or how does that, is there that type of coordination that happens as well?
There can be. If it's a patient request or a guest that says, I really like Christian. He is just a wonderful young soul that, is there any way that he can come and get us? We'll do everything in our power to make sure Christian's your driver. It's not always a guarantee.
Sure.
Our drivers work long days and short weeks. It's one of the advantages of working for Key Transit is it's a 4-day work week with benefits. So we treat our drivers well so we can get good drivers. We don't want to just hire bodies.
Having so many interactions with the communities and the hospitals, and then also your clients, do you see a changing trend as our population ages in terms of mobility?
Well, I see that the needs continue to grow. More and more people will call with, I need it and I need it now. Which is not something I can guarantee, but we do offer same-day transportation. We provide upwards of 12 trips per day that are requested in that very same day. For someone that's maybe a new admission to an assisted living community or a skilled nursing facility, we work with the clinical liaisons at the hospitals in order to make that happen.
How have you seen that it has grown? So right now, did you say you had 11 drivers?
Throughout the week, I would say, in total we have 20. But throughout the week, roughly 12 to 14, depending on need. We don't overstaff, we don't understaff. Our profit margins are slim, and that's why this is a business that I think is underserved, is because the profitability is somewhat minimal. We're not in it to get rich. We're in it to make a difference in people's lives, to help others get to where they need to go.
Have you seen it grow over the past couple years, or has it been pretty steady?
It's been steady.
It has been steady.
It has been steady.
That's good.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the journey that your approach was in growing from one relationship to 80 relationships and one van to 16 vans. What does that change look like? How did you approach that? What was the thought process? What did that all look like?
I'm old school. I don't use a lot of social media in which to advertise. I visit with each and every one of our communities, and I get to know the people there, everyone from the caregiver to the case manager to the clinical liaison. So I went out and I pounded the pavement, and I put myself in front of people to let them know that I can actually provide the service that I'm offering. So they gave us a try, and guess what? They keep using us.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
A referral, that's a great way to be. And I mean, nothing like a testimonial from somebody to say that the service was high quality and that they felt safe in the transportation, which kind of makes me think a little bit about when you are hiring a driver, what are you looking for, and what type of training do you offer for your drivers to make sure that they are offering that high level quality of service?
That's a very good question. I wear a lot of hats with the company, hiring, training, staff development, marketing, overseeing a fleet of vehicles, you name it. Sometimes I may change clothes throughout the day depending on where I'm going, if it's a networking, social, or whatever the case may be. But when I screen an applicant, the first thing I ask are the deal-breaking questions. Are you able to pass a background check? Are you able to pass a drug screen? How's your motor vehicle record? Because if they're not able to pass a background check, they can't pass a drug screen, or their motor vehicle record is not exemplary, there's no point in taking the conversation any further. Once we get through that portion, the deal breakers, are you vaccinated for COVID, free and clear of communicable disease, because we TB test each and every one of our employees, as well as drug screens and so on and so forth. But what I'm really looking for is someone that likes to help others, that has that caregiving mentality. It's not just looking to punch a clock.
Would you say these are industry standards, or is there any qualifications that is across the board, or would you say that your screening process is different than others? Transportation.
Well, I haven't seen other people's screening process, so that's hard to speak to. But what I do walk people through is our philosophy, what we do, and how rewarding it is to be able to make a difference in another's life. And if that seems to be something in which speaks to them, then I'll continue to move forward with meeting them face to face, setting up a formal interview. You can get a little bit better perception for people when you meet them in person than over the phone. People will often want to tell you what you want to hear in a phone screening. So the interview process is somewhat extensive. And the onboarding process equally so. Once they make it through an interview, the very next step is we run their motor vehicle record on the spot. We make sure that there aren't any bad driving habits. And then if that looks acceptable, they do a thorough background check. If they pass that, then they go in for a drug screen, a human performance evaluation, a TB test. Once they get through that, they're issued CPR training and first aid. Once they get through that, that's when the training process begins. So we're very thorough. We want to make sure that safety is our number one priority, that we provide each and every one of our employees the tools in which they need to succeed and to provide the level of service that the communities have grown to expect.
That's great.
What's the approach to the equipment maintenance that allows you to provide the safe transportation?
We have software that will tell us when a vehicle needs to be serviced. We are always staying on top of tires, brakes, suspension, that can be a full-time job in and of itself, just maintaining a fleet of vehicles. Fortunately, there are tools at our disposal. So when a vehicle is due for a tire rotation or a brake inspection, it will notify us, and then we keep records of that. So when it's due for its next inspection, we utilize a software program that tracks the vehicle maintenance needs, but also the application that we use for dispatching has an app within it. When a driver logs in to begin their shift each and every day, they do a walkthrough. They look for the tires. They look to make sure the brake lights and the turn signals are working properly. They check the fluids. So there's a checklist that occurs on a daily basis. And then during the weekend, when we aren't as busy and the majority of our fleet is stationary, we have a driver that will come in and go through each and every vehicle and inspect it again.
The process sounds like a pilot getting ready to fly, right? You check all of your equipment and all of the fluids and everything else. And knowing that you do that daily is huge in terms of the safety delivery.
Yeah.
Right.
Not just getting in the truck or the transport and you're just hoping that everything works out well. There's some responsibility that takes place to that, and that makes it a little extra special too.
How do you balance the financial pressures of the just operationally with the maintenance and the staff and all of that, especially in terms of your safety first philosophy?
It's a delicate balance. Our dispatchers will provide a handoff report each and every day. And within that handoff report that's reviewed by myself and the CEO, how many transports did we perform that day? How many vans were utilized? How many cancellations occurred? Did we turn down any requests? And if so, why? And it would generally boil down to one of two reasons. Either we need more vehicles or we need more drivers. But really, in order to make this all work, we need to keep our vehicles moving. So in order to fill the gaps that arise within our schedule, we provide same-day transportation in addition to the scheduled appointments and dialysis appointments that we cater to for our communities. We work with UC Health in 16 of their hospitals, so we can do same-day hospital discharges. And generally, when a clinical liaison is calling you to set up a transport, they have precisely the amount of time it takes from walking out of one patient's room to another's. They need to know, can you do it? Do you have the availability? And our dispatchers are trained to be able to look in our software and easily analyze that, yes, I can offer you a 2 p.m. or a 3 p.m. Which would you prefer?
Mm-hmm. It's a process. It's not just, not about just showing up and just being ready. I mean, there's a team, like you said, with the hospital from the discharge, then they're relying on you to be there and to be able to transport the patient, but be on time. I mean, then if you're not there, then you're setting back, the whole schedule. So to be relied upon by UC Health, that speaks volumes in my mind. That's impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's clear to me that you're very heart-centered in your approach to the business, your why, the whole story. Can you tell us a client story of where transportation made an impact for them, where maybe they couldn't have participated in something and being able to take them and support that process allowed them to participate in something?
Well, I think one of the bigger things is when, it really breaks my heart when this happens, but when there's a system breakdown from another entity and someone's left behind, particularly in the harsher months. We're in Colorado. It gets cold. Dialysis centers close, and sometimes people are left behind. We get that call, and absolutely, we'll send somebody right now. I had somebody just the other day in the Springs, and we don't generally do much business in the Springs. We're mostly Denver Metro. Their return trip for dialysis was at 7:30 p.m., which was after our business hours. I reached out to the driver, asked, would you mind staying a little late and making a little extra money tonight? Mm-hmm. And his answer was absolutely. And we were able to rescue that person and make sure that they got back to their community, even though it was not something that would normally be accommodated.
That's such a great feel-good, right, for you and for the driver.
It is. Especially
especially for the client. But, when you can deliver to that and know the impact that you've made, that just delivers to your why, right? Yeah, that's
Exactly.
fantastic.
Reinforces your mission too.
Right.
It just all comes together to know that you care about the transport and making sure that the individual is safe, right? And that goes above and beyond just like, sorry, I'm done for the day. No, we have to look at the cares and the needs of the individual, which is pretty special.
Yeah, we have a very good staff. We've been blessed. I think we've made some good hires over the years. So we have a good team.
Well, it starts with the top down,
Yeah.
right? Leaders set the tone,
It does.
and then you deliver to the accountability for the team. And, it sounds like you're putting your arms around that whole process to allow for that deliverable to come through clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing warms my heart more than when somebody reaches out to my office to compliment a driver for going the extra mile. Mm-hmm. They don't just want to leave a message with our office. They want me to contact them directly so they can ensure that that driver gets the praise that is due. I just had an incident just last week. The lady called in and she spoke to our dispatch team. She was raving about our driver, Mary, and how wonderful Mary is. And insisted that I give her a call, and of course I'm happy to do so. My personal cell phone number is on my business card. It's no secret. I let the communities know if anything's ever less than stellar, please let me know. Mm-hmm. So if there's a problem that arises, and I don't know about it, I can't fix it. But this lady was she had undergone surgery. She was in a lot of pain. And our driver was patient and kind. And particularly what she was impressed with was each and every bump that she encountered as she was wheeling this person into their community, she took her time with. And although not within our typical scope of practice, this person also had been experiencing quite a bit of nausea and had stopped eating. And our driver happened to have a peppermint in her pocket and gave her a peppermint. And that settled her stomach. She told me she's eating again. That's kind of a one-off. That's not our standard practice to hand out peppermints to our passengers. But I just thought it was so, going above and beyond and having that caregiver mindset that our driver really deserves some praise.
It sounds like too, and I think with every individual, the drivers must, if they are seeing these individuals over and over again, but every individual has a story, right? But what were they doing before then? And I would imagine that it sounds like your drivers have that little extra personal care to know a little bit about the individual. It's not just about giving them a ride. It's about knowing about them. They're in this community. How long have they been in the community? Do you find that is the case, or am I just feeling this because of
You are 100%,
what you're telling me?
You are 100% correct. Our drivers love to hear the stories that are told and the lives that these people have lived. We can learn so much from our elders.
100%.
Yes.
And just to go above and beyond, I also teach dementia awareness. Symptoms of dementia, which 50% of us will experience in our lifetime, do not rule out safe wheelchair transport. There are certain criteria that will. So as long as our guest can follow simple instructions, sit safely upright in a wheelchair, obviously they're not combative and a flight risk, they can safely be transported by us. But with that being said, the short-term memory is the first thing to go. So when that passenger or guest asks, how long till we get there? We'll be there at 4:30. That means nothing to someone with symptoms of dementia. The more appropriate response would be soon. And that person may ask you 6 times, how long till we get there? How long till we get there? And our drivers have been taught how to communicate with people with these symptoms. So we like to lead with our heart.
And you're not correcting them, and you're not telling them what they think is perceived as reality to say, no, that's not what's happening. I like the way that you approach that with the answer of soon, because if you, like you said 4:30. Well, what does that mean to them?
It's all relative.
Yeah, right.
That may be an agitating factor. For someone that can remember with absolute clarity their wedding date, but they can't remember what they had for breakfast.
Right.
It breaks my heart. It's a terrible disease. But our drivers are trained to interact with people with those symptoms.
Because I'm sure you encounter so many of those individuals, and I commend you for training your drivers and learning that component for yourself so that you can pass that along, because that does make such a difference. Especially. Nice.
That's just a small component of the training that goes into the staff that we put on the street. Every driver goes through PASS training. It's passenger assistant sensitivity and safety training. They go through defensive driving. All of our vehicles are equipped with what's called telematics. It monitors driving habits, harsh braking, harsh steering, speeding. We want to ensure that everything that we do is with the intent of providing safe transportation to your loved one.
I have a friend that works in that space and has about the equipment, that's loaded in the vehicles. And I just think that's amazing because it tracks so much, and it makes everybody alert and aware of what the situation is. And I think that's fantastic. One of the things that you had mentioned too about when you're training the individuals, that there's a lot that goes into the training. What would you say, because you are committed and wanting to provide the best training for your employees, do you find that they may opt to stay with you for a longer period of time because they feel your passion, and they too want to extend that and kind of be a part of that for a little bit, like the turnover. They may not want to leave because of the passion that you have and the care that they're giving.
I don't really like to toot my own horn, but I have had a number of drivers say, "You're the reason I'm here."
You should. That's pretty special.
Yeah, because the passion is shared across the board. People aren't coming to work for us because they see an opportunity to work 4 days a week, have 3 days off, and get benefits. They're coming to work because it's meaningful, and they feel appreciated for what they do, and they get to make a difference in people's lives.
What should, as you're partnering with more and more communities and helping more and more families, what should they be looking for in a transportation partner?
Reliability, and then delivering upon what they say. We never overpromise and underdeliver. And screening, when each and every caller calls, we want to make sure that we are able to provide them with safe transportation. Even though not our responsibility, for example, we will provide oxygen to someone that's going from a hospital into a nursing home where oxygen is waiting for them on the other end. But we're not going to provide oxygen to someone that's going to an outside doctor's appointment because we can't leave that with them. And providing oxygen is completely different than administering it. Administering oxygen is a medical intervention that's outside of our scope of practice. But with that being said, if we're taking someone from their nursing home to a doctor's appointment and they have their own oxygen tank, even though not our responsibility, our drivers are taught to look at the tank. Is it nearing empty? Everyone's short-staffed. And I know it's not with intent, but I think it's our duty and our responsibility to make sure this person is going to their appointment with the full tank, even if it takes a few extra minutes to grab a caregiver and say, I'm getting ready to take Miss Jones to her appointment, and I noticed her oxygen tank is running low. Can we get a replacement before we head out?
That's attention to detail.
Yeah.
It is.
In addition to leading with heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's really impressive.
And as families are planning, if a family member has a loved one that they're trying to plan for transportation for that loved one, what would you, that may have mobility limitations, what would you say is something or a number of items that families should consider when they're looking for transportation for that loved one? Any suggestions on where do they start, right? How do you know what the needs are and where to go from step number one?
Well, first and foremost, I would just encourage them to call. We have a number of different clients. We do serve 80 nursing homes and assisted living facilities throughout the Denver metro area, yes. But we also have a fair number of private pay clients that will call on behalf of their loved one that doesn't reside in a skilled nursing home that needs a ride. And those calls take a little bit longer for our dispatch team to get through because there's a lot of information that needs to be gone over. What's the cost involved? Can I come along? And we can accommodate a caregiver and or a loved one. There's no additional cost. Mm-hmm. As long as they're completely independent and they can wear a seatbelt, come along for the ride. But we're equipped to give them the information that they need in order to provide for that need. Prime example would be someone being picked up or dropped off at an airport. Mm-hmm. Can you take this person or pick them up from Denver International Airport? We're not going to just say yes without asking some questions first to make sure we can actually follow through and successfully pick that person up. But leading back to everything we do revolving around patient safety, we have policies and procedures in place. We're not going to load the vehicle with more than what we can safely secure. In the unlikely event of an accident, we don't want anything that could be a projectile. Mm-hmm. So we have policies in place, 2 bags, for example. Or if somebody is, let's say, ambulatory with assistance, they're able to walk, but not without help. They need to walk. They need to use their walker, and they want to sit in the front seat of the van. If they're able to get in and out of the vehicle on their own without assistance, it's perfectly fine. But if they have an unsteady gait, we have a wheelchair in our vehicle. We'll allow them to use our wheelchair and get them safely to their destination. So our dispatchers are well trained in what questions to ask to make sure that we follow through and are able to provide for the need.
Well, and speaking of the questions to ask, how does the family member or your client know what questions to ask of a transportation partner to ensure safety and reliability and high-class service?
They may or may not know, and that's why each and every time a call is taken, we go over a checklist of items, whether or not the passenger can sit safely upright in a wheelchair, whether there are contact precautions or COVID symptoms, whether there are stairs leading in or out of the home, whether they're combative or a flight risk. So these questions will often prompt the responses that we're looking for in order to be able to provide them with what they need. And if it falls outside of what we can provide, then we'll refer them to someone that can provide the level of service that would be warranted.
What are the typical questions that a consumer is asking of you when they call?
So one of the questions that we'll get generally right off the bat when a loved one is calling for their family member to set up transport is what's the cost? Or do you bill insurance? There are a few insurance companies that pay for wheelchair transportation. Mostly for a private pay scenario, power of attorney or a loved one can put the cost on their credit card if it's within their budget. I think our prices are reasonable. We charge $65 each way and then loaded miles. Some people will say, well, you realize the gallon of gasoline is $3.86. How do you justify charging this much money? Whereas other people will say, oh, that's all? Let me give you my card.
It's all perspective, right?
It is all perspective. Mm-hmm. Nothing breaks my heart more than people on a fixed income that have to decide whether or not they're going to get their medication, whether they're going to eat, whether they're going to keep a roof over their head, or whether they're going to get a ride. Mm-hmm. If our service is cost prohibitive to someone, I will offer them other resources. I will point them in the direction of where they might get a service that doesn't cost nearly as much as what we provide, but I can't guarantee it'll be the level of service that we provide. With that being said, wheelchair transportation, NEMT, non-emergent medical transportation, to be precise, is about 1/5 of the cost of a stretcher transport. So if someone can go by wheelchair versus stretcher, it's certainly a lot less expensive. How much does it cost? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How much notice do you need? And am I to accompany them? What do I need to do on my end to prepare them for the transport?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question.
Yeah.
A lot of consumers think that transportation is just getting you from point A to point B.
Correct.
It's a very quick little, take me from this street address to this street address. What do our listeners need to understand about the level of skill and care and attention to detail that Key Transit provides?
Mainly that everything we do revolves around safely transporting your loved one as if they were our own, because we take not only pride in our work, but we care about the guests that we serve, as well as their families. The level of commitment and the level of training that we invest is second to none. We have a team that is going to walk you through not only just answering the call to make sure it's within the scope of our practice and that we can provide that service to you. I have had so many repeat customers. That's how we grow, and by word of mouth, with options that are somewhat limited, particularly when we get into the topic of pay source.
What would you say are maybe the top 2 to 3 insights that you would like to have our listeners take away from this conversation that we had today?
Just that we're here to serve, and if we can't provide for that need, I have no hesitation in pointing you in a direction of someone who can. I'm a giving person. I like to help. At one point, I wanted to start a nonprofit organization that would provide resources to the community that otherwise people wouldn't know about, similar to what you do here. I wanted to call it CHAT, Community Health Advisory Task Force, a medical 411 with 2 to 3 different reputable resources in every facet of healthcare imaginable. But I'm only one person and I can only do so much. So I've invested my time into providing the best possible transportation needs to people who have mobility issues. And then secondary, just being a single father and putting time into raising my kids.
I love your why. It really, it resonates in your story and how you're passionate about, the individuals that you're transporting, but also staff that you have, and you take the care on both sides, right? So it's very evident in the conversation that we've had with you that you've got that. Looking at it as transportation, it's a lifeline, right? It's something that you're offering not only for the individuals, but also your drivers too, because you're making that connection. And it's pretty special.
Yeah, it's not a privilege. It's a right for people to be able to get to where they need to go, regardless of what obstacles they have to overcome. I learned that firsthand when I broke my kneecap into 3 places. Skateboarding accident, single dad stuff, and I live up 18 stairs alone.
Wow, that's a challenge.
Yeah. What do you do? I was faced with that challenge on my own. So if I can be of service and help somebody overcome that challenge, then it's been a good day.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. This has been an amazing conversation.
Thank you for
I love
having
learning
me.
more about the transportation and your why and just the heart that you approach all of this with. Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
What an insightful and heartfelt conversation we had. Cory reminded us today that while many people take transportation for granted, for older adults and wheelchair users, it can be the difference between connection and isolation. And as we shared earlier, the CDC reports that nearly 4.5% of adults ages 65 and older lack reliable transportation, a number that translates into countless missed appointments, postponed treatments, and lost opportunities for engagement.
Cory, thank you for helping us understand the real impact of accessible, specialized transportation and for the integrity and care you bring to this work every single day. Your team at Key Transit is restoring independence and dignity for so many across the Denver metro area.
To our listeners, if you or a loved one needs safe, reliable wheelchair, accessible transportation, whether for medical care or personal connection, we encourage you to reach out to Key Transit. Their commitment to door-to-door support, safety, and compassion truly stands out. You'll find their contact information in the show notes.
And as always, thank you for spending time with us. If this conversation resonated with you, please follow, subscribe, and share it with someone who might benefit. Your support helps us continue elevating the voices, needs, and stories of our aging community.
Until next time, stay connected, stay informed, and stay empowered.